And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us, and one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon. Tonight we're joined by my guest, Heather. Heather, thanks for coming on here and talking with me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Would you like to let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Heather Moser. I work for Small Town Monsters, which is a documentary film company based out of Ohio. We are independent, so we do our own thing, and we're not a very large crew, but much larger than we were 10 years ago. I work for them, and what that means for me is kind of a little bit of everything. I produce. This last summer, I got to direct for the first time. I guess that, I help with some of the writing for narration at times, not all the time. Sometimes that's Mark Matsky, but research, planning, helping plan trips. I recently was given a little, it's almost like a GoPro on a stick. It's a DJI. I don't even remember what it's actually called, but I get to run that because it's pretty easy to do.
It's that little mini thing.
Yeah. Because I can't, there have been times where, because there are only a couple of us sometimes on shoots, there's times where I've had to hold the camera, but ever since I can remember, I shake a little bit. My hands shake and I can't keep a steady picture, but this little DJI kind of takes care of that. So that's what I get to do sometimes.
I've seen videos advertising those things and I really want to get one, but they're not that cheap. So I'll have to keep saving up.
Yeah. I have no idea. It was something that was brought. It was one of our trips a few months back that we brought. I think it was just Courtney and I out on a trip actually filming, and she brought this along. It was something they had just bought to try to see how it looked. And she's like, this one's pretty easy and it, will make up for the shaking. So you can give it a go. And we've named it Stanley Stick. I don't know if you remember that from Nickelodeon, but the little popsicle stick guy that would pop up between commercials, but that's what we named him. Stanley Stick. That's my camera.
What got you involved in all of this? Is this something that you've been interested in for like doing documentaries and film work before all this, or is it just kind of something that you fell into?
Yeah, I honestly never would have thought that I would be involved in making documentaries. Filmmaking was never on my radar at all, actually. What was on my radar was weirdness, high strangeness, ghosts, cryptids, that kind of thing. I started off with interest in the paranormal and kind of grew from there. And ultimately, I got involved with Small Town Monsters because Seth had announced that he was going to be doing a movie on the Bell Witch. And I had already been doing research on that for another project that I was working on regarding cursed letters or cursed objects and the letters that accompany them when they get returned. So I'd already looked into the Bell Witch legend, and I reached out to him and I was like, hey, if you ever need a researcher, that's what I love to do. I love to go through old newspaper articles, old books, just scanning the internet. I love diving into stuff like that. And it's almost like solving mysteries, at some points. And he said, actually, we could use a researcher. And so that's how I got started. And then the roles have evolved from there.
I know I can't think of the one offhand, but you actually narrated one of the recent documentaries, didn't you?
Yeah, we've been having, it's called Bigfoot Archives, is a show on YouTube that we've put out. We're aiming for about once a quarter, and I get to narrate that, which is fun. But the first time that I got to actually narrate anything in length was Cursed Waters, the Ogopogo movie that we did. Eli Watson filmed it and directed it, and he messaged me and he's like, "Hey, do you think you could narrate this?" And I was like, "I mean, I can try." And so he said, "Okay, here's what I want you to aim for." I can't do voices or anything like that, but he was like, "You know the opening for Lord of the Rings?" And I'm like, "Of course I do." He's like, "That's what I want you to sound like." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll do my best." So I tried.
I was watching that one a couple weeks back, and I'd seen that you were doing the narration for it, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
I've watched a few of them here in the last few months, and I couldn't remember which one it was offhand.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fun.
So this is 10 years now for Small Town Monsters. Have you been involved with them for almost the whole 10 years?
No. So the first film actually came out in 2015. I guess Seth started filming in 2014 from what I've heard, but it came out in 2015 with Minerva Monster. And that I was aware of it as soon as it started because that's about a monster near where I live. So that was on my radar, but I officially got involved with STM in 2019.
Okay.
So this will be my 7th year. Yeah, heading in my 7th year. By the fall, I think, or late spring, I guess, is whenever I was officially involved. So
that was about the time when I actually started to look more into the whole cryptid thing online with documentaries and stuff. I usually didn't pay much attention to that type of stuff, but then it was around 2019 into 2020 is when I started to do a lot more digging into things. Once I kind of figured out there was podcasts that kind of talked about this stuff too.
Yeah. So you just were you interested in the subject prior to this, or was 2019 like there was something about that year that you're like, oh, this stuff's awesome?
I think the whole podcast thing honestly happened because of Joe Rogan having Bob Lazar on. And that was the whole, they're going to raid Area 51 when that whole Facebook stupid movement was going on. And
yeah.
And I started looking, I'd seen that I'd watched the Joe Rogan episode, and anytime someone mentions podcast, you automatically just think of Joe Rogan because that's all I ever thought about. I never paid much attention to it. But then once the whole world kind of went on lockdown for beginning of 2020 is when I really started listening to podcasts.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when the world slowed down, right? You had a chance to kind of explore different things. That Area 51 thing that you mentioned, that all that Facebook chaos, I was following along while Seth and some of the crew were out west filming the first season of On the Trail of UFOs, and they were near Area 51, and they live streamed, and the live stream got bombarded with random people because everybody was searching for Area 51. So they got a lot of trolls in the live stream, and they were real confused. What is this? We don't normally have this many people watching us, and why are they saying these ridiculous things about all kinds of inappropriate alien things?
Yeah, that was the running gag that a lot of people were talking about doing. I won't say what it was, but there was quite a bit of stupidity that was being brought up.
Yep. Exactly.
So no, that whole time frame, obviously I was, with having my own experience, I was interested in cryptids and everything, but I didn't realize there was that many more people that were. It's one of those taboo topics that you don't really bring up to most people because they think you're crazy.
Yeah. Yep. I understand that for sure.
So I made subtle hints here and there. I used to be in a band, and we had stuff that had cryptid related names or merch or stuff like that. But like some people knew what happened with me, but I didn't go out there and advertise it to everybody.
Right.
So
That's cool though.
that was one of the things that I guess drew me into the whole cryptid realms, like for the documentaries and other things, were finding out that I wasn't the only person that like seen some of this weird stuff, thanks to the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And even though documentary filmmaking wasn't anything that I ever thought I'd be involved in many years ago, that's one of the big things that I like about it is that we get to, since it is a documentary, one, you can just document, you don't have to like put a spin on anything, but you get to get these people's stories out there. And to me, that serves two purposes, very important purposes. And the one is to preserve the story so it doesn't get lost. So the historian aspect of me comes out for that. But then also that allows people to see that they're not alone. There's I can't really think of any stories that we've come across or witnesses that have spoken to us that there haven't been elements of their story that sound, there are bits and pieces at least that are very similar to other people's stories. And I think there's something very vital to that, to let someone know that, yeah, you experienced something that was really, really odd, and in some cases traumatic, but you're not alone in that.
That's the whole reason I started doing my show in the first place, was I wanted to talk to other people that had that experience, because I felt like for so long I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, and that's a really bad feeling. I don't like that. I mean, in all aspects of of human existence, the feeling alone and isolated, that's not good.
No, the couple of times that I ever did bring it up, people just kind of laughed or
Mhm.
made
Yeah.
"What were you smoking?" comments or something stupid.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely heard that from a lot of people.
When you were out filming with like on the documentaries and some of the times that you're out in the field, has there been anything that's actually ever come across that you guys think you may have actually heard something or seen something while you've been filming?
Um, well, we have actually, yes. One of the most recent ones, when we were doing Investigation Bigfoot, which is on YouTube. I think that ended up being 3 episodes. We brought Aaron Deason from Texas and went out to PA and hooked up with some researchers over there, Sean Forker and Matt Arner. And we did a little bit of a night investigation because the property that we were on kind of backed up to a state forest, I believe. So there was a lot of stuff, a lot of opportunity for some sort of wildlife to come out. And um, we did a little bit of an investigation, and there was something. I mean, we were hearing things in the woods. At one point, Aaron and Sean, I think, I was further away from them, but they heard something that Aaron said it was like a baboon sound or something. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he heard some sort of primate like sound. And then at one point, his camera died, and he was watching this eye shine that he had caught up higher off the ground. He kept his flashlight trained on it, and he had this his handy cam, and then the handy cam battery died. But even through all of his adrenaline, he had the mind frame to pull out his iPhone and start filming. So that footage actually made the third episode, the last episode of Investigation Bigfoot from the first season, where Aaron, the footage you see with the eye shine is from Aaron's iPhone. No one else was in that angle at that time, and his thing had died. So we'd have that. When we did the Bigfoot project, which was filmed here at my property back in I don't even know, 2022, 23, something like that. It was a while ago now. We had all kinds of activity happening, and that a lot of that we were able to capture on film, fortunately, particularly in episode 1. You see a lot of that. But Seth and I could hear things running around us. Something was throwing rocks at us. We would hear vocalizations. So all of that was here. When we filmed on the Chestnut Ridge, we saw spook lights while filming there. And that was not meant to be. I mean, I don't know how many people go out looking for like spook lights unless they're going like the Round Mountain lights or something. But we were out there looking for Bigfoot. And what happened was that we saw these orbs, like self-illuminating balls of light.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty cool. But yeah, it happens sometimes. I think that one disadvantage that we have when filming, one is if it's a larger crew, you've got a lot of noise in the woods. And two, if you don't want just night vision, you've got lights, and that's it's not like you're just sitting there quietly. And I mean, we do that sometimes, but that doesn't translate to camera very well to just sit there in the dark. So we try to move when we can, just for movement of camera. So, but yeah, on occasion we look out and we hear some things. So it does happen. It does.
I was actually filming earlier today, and
ooh, were you at that triangle place?
Yeah, I'm not gonna chalk it up to anything strange, because the first thing I got out and I heard was sound like a whoop, but then I realized down in the river there was a family, so it could have been one of them. So I wrote that off as just probably a person. But later on, I was filming off of this bridge. They call it Hobbit Land. And because there's a bunch of Puckwudgie stuff, like little people stories.
Oh, wow.
So back in the 70s, a lot of people have talked about it that I've talked to from the 1970s. They've referred to it as Hobbit Land back then. I think that's when the name came about.
Yeah.
But the local tribe always talked about little people. But when I was out there, I was walking back. I just finished filming. I was walking back to the truck, and there was almost sound like where the guardrail is, like something hit the guardrail and kind of like scraped across it. So I turned around and looked, and there was nothing there. So I can't figure out what. I looked around. I was like, maybe it was from under the bridge, but I don't know what would have made that noise.
That's a very specific noise.
I was like, that's there's no one out here for miles because it's desolate in this little area. And that is a metal noise. Like, you can tell metal from other noises.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me of a couple things. One, I've heard people describe Bigfoot, like Bigfoot activity, and accompanying that are sounds sometimes that don't make any sense, which I'm assuming the thought is that they are mimicking sounds that they've heard. But you'd be out in the middle of nowhere and you hear like a car door slam shut, but there are no cars for miles. But then that metal sound, I've heard that a lot with Dogman encounters, where people have heard that metal sound prior to seeing a creature. So that's interesting.
The thing that I noticed the most is they'd hung up new signs, like new street signs, and one of them is a giant mosquito, like 5 times the size of a human, eating a human. And it's a road sign. It's like so apparently you need to worry about the giant mosquitoes out there too.
Yeah, that's going to be really bad when the weather gets nice.
Yeah. Like I've never seen that sign before. I've been out there plenty of times, so someone hung up a nice new giant mosquito sign. You guys are working on documentaries for this year, and you have a Kickstarter going on. And when this releases, it'll probably be maybe 2 weeks left. So if you would like to talk a little bit about what you got coming on for the upcoming projects and everything, so the listeners out there, if they're interested, they can check out the Kickstarter.
Yeah. So if you just look up Small Town Monsters on Kickstarter, you can go and check out the stuff that we're working on for this year. Some of the biggest projects that we're working on, the movies and the series. And then the way the Kickstarter works is that you choose a tier to pledge some assistance, I guess, and in exchange you get rewards, which the biggest thing I think is that anybody who backs our Kickstarter gets access to all of these films in 2026 before, like, as soon as they're done. It's usually Seth will upload them the day that he finishes the edit. And sometimes that's months before it actually gets out for distribution to be seen elsewhere. So you get all the movies ahead of time. But regardless, so we've got 4 major projects coming out this year. The one is going to be Alexander Petakov's Journey to Ape Island. He's going to go out to Vancouver Island and do some filming there actually relatively soon. And that's his thing for this year. And we have Dogman Legacy, which is another movie that we're working on. And with that, we're going to have Aaron Deese and Shannon LeGros as sort of the hosts. If you've watched any of the Texas Dogman stuff, or when we went to the LBL, it was that duo together, kind of checking out the woods and interviewing witnesses and stuff. And so that's Dogman Legacy. And then the 2 series that we're doing is Sasquatch Factor, which we're still working out all of the details as to how that's going to be laid out. But I believe the goal is 12 episodes, and it's going to be all over the country. Just looking into Bigfoot in as much depth as we possibly can. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see some of these places that I've never seen before. We don't have all of the places picked out yet, but we have a few, and I'm pretty pumped about that. And then On the Trail of UFOs Season 2, which I'd mentioned On the Trail of UFOs Season 1, which was like 2019 when they went and filmed it. But we have put out other On the Trail of UFOs since Season 1, but they were in film format, not episodic content. So we're going back to the episodic format for this Season 2. And that's Shannon LeGros hosting, and Seth is there as well. And then Aaron Deese has accompanied them. And then we get other people to tag along, which actually on our last trip that we were on in the middle of a winter storm, we were filming for 2 projects, and the one was On Trail of UFOs and the other one was Dogman Legacy. And so we had Micah Hanks with us for a few days while we were doing the UFO stuff, which was cool to spend that time with him. But yeah, so those are our projects. And then the rewards they're the movies. You can back at a level to get movies. We have exclusive t-shirts that are like Kickstarter backers only will get them. We've got posters, of course. We have just various levels. And the one level that is pretty, I don't know, I think it's pretty unique is the statue level, because we always have a statue every year by Gene St. Jean. And this year he's doing the Hopkinsville Goblins. So I'm excited to see what that final statue looks like when it's all said and done. But we got that. And then add-ons, which we're trying this year. I don't think we did that last year. It's something new for us, where you back at a level, and then if you want to add extra stuff, like Aaron Deese is writing 2 books, you can throw them in the cart too, and then already have them reserved when they come out. Or we have pins, we've got shirts, we've got posters, like just different ways to customize the way that you back the Kickstarter that we've not done in previous years. So
I haven't really messed a whole lot with Kickstarter. I did a little one just for the thing that I'm doing, and it had like barely a budget because I didn't even want to do it. I know it's a bad thing, but like I'm kind of prideful. I like to do everything myself, and I never ask for help.
Yeah.
It's a bad habit, but I was actually surprised that people like, I don't know, I guess I look at it differently. I was surprised that people actually cared enough to want to donate to something that I was doing. It's it's a cool feeling, but at the same time I was like, man, now I feel bad. People
Now you feel that, and the pressure's on.
Right.
The pressure is on at that point. Yeah, it is. It's like a much needed breath of fresh air when we do Kickstarter, because every year that we do it, it's always in February. We're coming out of the winter, the holidays, and all of that chaos. But the last couple of years, the biggest shift for us is that we've done a lot of YouTube content, so a lot of episodic things, some various specials or whatnot. But the world of YouTube is so much different than what we were used to before. And what I mean is that the trolls are in abundance on YouTube.
Right.
And that's something that, you know, you shouldn't dwell on some of the nasty comments and the negative comments, but it's hard after a while. And when that seems to be something that does come up more than we're used to, and you're not hearing so much of the positive stuff, when when we have a Kickstarter and it's successful, it's kind of a much needed reminder that there are people that do appreciate what we do and don't want us to fail miserably, or don't think that everything we do is awful, despite what some people on YouTube may say.
One of the best piece of advice anyone had ever given me was never read the comments, and yet I always do.
Yep. Yeah. It's hard. I sometimes can go a while and not check out any comments, but I do every once in a while go and look, just because I guess I'm human and it's hard not to.
I will always have someone send me a comment or an email or something to let me know that I said something incorrectly.
Yeah. Yep. We've gotten that before as well. Or we've had people that, one thing that has come up is that we'll have people that'll watch like one episode and say maybe it's Heartland or something like that, where it's mostly sit down interviews. And so every once in a while we'll get a comment about, why don't you guys get out in the field and, get some boots on the ground stuff? I'm tired of watching people just sit around and tell stories or whatever. But, just look on the channel. We have that. We just, there are different shows. There's different ways to go about the whole subject. And we do bits and pieces of all of it, I think. But I guess when you get stuck on a video and that's what you see, I guess that's what you assume all of them are like. I don't know.
You can never please everybody. And the moment you try to do that, it's pointless.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I've always been, even when it comes to this, because I used to be in a metal band and I knew that not everyone enjoys the type of music we play. So as long as I enjoy it, that's all that mattered to me. So if other people liked it, that's cool. And that's just kind of the mentality I've kept this whole time I've been doing my podcast.
Yeah. I think with any project, whenever you're doing what you want to do and you're satisfied with what you're doing, that's the ultimate goal. But really, that allows you to kind of find your people, because eventually they'll find you. You'll end up congregating at some point, expanding your community, as you do whatever the subject matter is that makes you happy.
We have been doing a lot of these, I don't want to call them conventions, but these little festivals or something, like Bigfoot festivals. And I know there's like the Cryptid Con and other things. We've been doing that for the last couple of years, my wife and I, when she can actually come with me. But last year I did like 13. This year I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that many. I cut it in half.
Yeah. That's tiring. You'd have been gone a lot, at least once a month if you did 13. I know that they don't have it every year, so you were probably going 2-3 times a month for some of those months, right?
October I did every weekend, and the last weekend of September. So I think it was like 5 straight weekends that I had something going on. And then we had Cryptid Con in November, and then I had 2 in May, 1 in June. And there was, I spent a lot of money and I didn't make all the money back.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen because it's a podcast. It's not like I have stuff that people are like beating down the door for. It's more or less just advertising. So I just wrote it off as advertising cost.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes it tough whenever some of these conventions, I mean, CryptidCon for you, that wouldn't be too bad, right? For the drive, but like some of these conventions, it'd be cool to go to, but they're so far away. And
The furthest one I
yeah.
went to was in Tennessee. It was down just south of Knoxville, and
Oh.
it was like an 8-hour drive.
Mm-hmm.
They did not put me with the rest of the podcast people, which is actually to my advantage because they were underwater. It had rained a lot, and where they had them staged at was where all the water had been running down. So they had me up in regular vendor area, which
Nice.
I didn't get a whole lot of traction in there either because all the podcast stuff was down in the other area. But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, at least I'm not swimming.
Right. Not soaking wet.
Yeah, I got an email for returning to that one. I was like, no, I think I'm going to pass that one this year because that was too far to go. I said the ones that I did decent at, I'm returning to, and the other ones, I'm just going to not worry about it this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the farthest that I've gone to since being an STM would have been, it's probably the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in July. I think it's the last week of July-ish, sometime in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's about an 8-hour drive for us to get down there.
So
It's a full day. I mean, it's a full day of travel.
So that one's in Gatlinburg, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference and Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. I don't remember I didn't go to the one in July. I went to the one in May, and I didn't know there was two different ones, but they call them the same thing besides one's festival and one's convention or conference.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that and wondered. But yeah, I think it's the conference that's in July, and then the festival must be the one that's in the spring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was at the festival one then, and yeah, it had stormed the night before, and everything was just flooded.
Oh man,
So
well, that sucks for everybody.
Yeah. So when they're outdoor, I've been looking and figuring out which ones are indoor and outdoor. I was like, well, it's outdoor. I'm not really wanting to be outdoor again.
Yeah. We this wasn't STM related. It was a conference that I went to speak at last in the fall. I went out to Missouri, and I was on it was the far side of Missouri, almost to Kansas. By the time, so that would have been the longest drive that I did. That was 12 hours, I think, from home, but it turned into like a little, a family type weekend. I brought the kids and my husband, and we just made a little trip of it. They'd never been that far west, so that was fun. But it was outside.
I have about a 12-hour drive coming up here in the next month, so I'm not really looking forward to it, but I'll look forward to it once I'm there.
Yeah,
but we're going.
Yeah, I always have nerves before I leave for anything like that.
We're going to be down in Alabama, and
wow,
it's I think 12-hour drive one direction.
Mm-hmm. Yikes.
It's interesting, especially when you have the 4 kids, and now that they're a little older, it shouldn't be as bad as the last time we went. The last time we went, my youngest wasn't even a year old yet.
Oh man, yeah, changing diapers and stuff on the road like that.
Yeah,
that would suck.
Yeah, it's been 4 years ago, so hopefully now when we make the trip, it won't be as bad as it was 4 years ago.
Yeah, I was surprised with taking the kids anywhere for any length of time. They're now that they're a little bit older, it's not as bad, but sometimes the bickering in the car gets to be a little much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you guys just not look at each other? Don't touch each other. Just look out your own window. You don't have to fight.
In my back seat, I always hear he's breathing my air. That's what it seems like.
Yeah. Yep. That's what has to happen. Sorry to say.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
Yep.
Are there any sort of festivals or anything that you guys are going to be a part of this year? I think I seen that Seth was going to be on one of them. So I forget which one it was. I get so many advertisements for them all the time that I can't keep track.
Yeah. Yep. I understand that for sure. The first thing that's coming up actually, because now we're actually in 2026, which still baffles me. Courtney and I will be MCs at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, and Alex is going to be there speaking as well. So he'll be one of our speakers, and then along with others. So we're going to be there. Seth is going to be at. I'm just going to pull up my newsletter because I keep everything in the newsletter that I've got. Seth's going to be at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference, but he's also going to be at Cumberland Con in October, which is down in Kentucky, I do believe. Yeah. And then Alex is going to be in a few different places. He'll be in Whitehall and the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival, and Maine. Yeah, he's going to Maine too. So yeah, it's not as crazy as some years that we've done, but it's the same thing. You hit it hard for a couple years, and then it's like, all right, we gotta slow down a little bit.
Yep. So around here, I think October again, I'm pretty much booked almost every weekend. I've been asked to be a speaker at a couple different ones, so I was like, okay. But
yeah,
they're at least in the state of Indiana, so it's not like I got to drive too far.
Yeah,
but
that'll be fun. October's the best year. It's the best month to talk about all this stuff, I think.
Yep. I feel like that's when everyone's the most interested, 'cause you got Halloween coming on and everything else in that month. So it seems like October is always the busy time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said you were interested in paranormal stuff before you got into the cryptids. Was there something that you've had experience before that kind of drew you to the paranormal, or is it just something you were interested in?
Well, the paranormal side of things started because ever since I was very young and would talk to my parents about, what was it like when you were a kid kind of thing. My mom told me about the farmhouse that she grew up in and how it was haunted. And the way that she talked about it wasn't a discussion of, maybe it was haunted. It was matter of fact, it was haunted. And after the family moved out, subsequent people that lived in that house all had issues. So I think first and foremost, having a parent that just kind of spoke about it as if there was nothing to even question just allowed that to naturally be part of my life. But there was something about all of this spooky stuff that has just caught my attention. I mean, I was raised on unsolved mysteries, and which gave me paranoia of like spontaneous human combustion, among other things. But just watching these spooky stories and, hearing my mom talk about that. And then as I got a little bit older, we had some odd things happen at the house that, where my parents still live actually to this day. And I don't know, there was just never, stuff would happen and I'd tell my parents like, oh, hey, I heard footsteps walking down the hall, or I saw something the other day. And it was never, thankfully for me, they never doubted me. They never said, well, what were you even awake when you had those experiences? And now they're having some of those experiences as well. Now that I guess it's just quieter there without a kid in the house, but they're noticing stuff now too. So yeah, it was just always around.
Paranormal is one of those things that I can't really wrap my head around. And I had this conversation, wasn't really, I guess, conversation, but I made a statement yesterday to someone because they were talking about ghosts and spirits, and they said they know there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. I was like, well, if you have a religious belief, why would there be good spirits still here? Why didn't they move on?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, I never thought of that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just saying, like, if there is an afterlife, why would anyone want to stick around here if you're promised
Yeah.
something better? So that's where I get stuck at when it comes to paranormal. It's like, I don't know what to really think about it, because if it is someone's energy and some sort of a spirit is still lingering around, what makes
Mhm.
them stuck here?
Yeah. I think that's a really good question. I I also think that aside from maybe human energy, there are other factors at play, other energies that we don't quite understand
Hmm.
that may not be tied to humans, and that's part of what we're experiencing when we're thinking of paranormal. Um, which gets into, I guess, murkier waters, explaining
Right.
one unexplainable thing with another unexplainable thing. But I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that every spirit, I guess, is a person
Right.
necessarily.
I think
But I
there,
do like that line of thinking.
I do think there are definitely something else other than just human spirits. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of it could be dark, and I think some of it could be positive, but I've also had the idea that, and this is for the listener and anyone else, this goes to the woo side. I guess that's why I call it Tinfoil Tales. But if you think of things in like dimensions or whatever, and they claim that some of these cryptids and some of these other things are like aliens now, they call them, instead of extraterrestrials, they're calling interdimensional beings. Let's just say
Mhm.
there is a different dimension and these things
Mhm.
come in and out of it. So maybe some of the things that people are saying is paranormal, like these spirits, are actually just something from the other plane of existence that somehow bleeds into our world. So what we think is a ghost is really just something from outside of our perception.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that theory. Another one that I've wondered is if some of the cryptids that we're seeing aren't necessarily in the physical realm completely, and that they're may not be what they look like. So I guess what I mean is sometimes I wonder if there's not things mimicking what we have come to know to be cryptids. Um, just for, I don't know, just to get a kick out of it, like something makes itself look like Bigfoot
Right.
just because because that's intimidating or whatever, and it's going to get a rise out of people, but maybe that's not, maybe the sounds that you're hearing, the whoops that you're hearing or whatever, maybe that's not a physical creature, maybe that's something else entirely. If you subscribe to that theory that there are things beyond a physical realm.
I think that some of the things that people actually encounter, and I know the word gets tossed out a lot, but someone says like an egregore, like sometimes you manifest things into reality. So I wonder
Yeah.
if people are, I say that because I know that sounds weird, and if you've seen my Facebook post, you'd understand from what I posted the other day, but it was really foggy out back, and I took a photo and I sent it to my friend Matt, who does Bigfoot Crossroads podcast. He said I should have put a Dogman back there. So I went to Chat GPT and I told it to put a Dogman in the background of where it's all foggy. And
Mhm.
I've time stamped the photos. You can see it. So you can see the fake photo. And then literally a minute later, there was a large black dog running out behind my fence, like right. And I have it on video. And I don't know where the dog came from. I was like, did I just manifest a dog and turn into a dog? Like, I have all these sequences of photos and you can actually see the times of it and everything. Like, that kind of creeped me out because even my wife seen it.
Yeah.
Like, she was yelling at me to go take a picture of it because we thought it was like a black wolf out by our goats. I was like, I literally just made a fake picture and now there's actually
Right.
something back there. I was like, that's weird.
That is that is very weird. Yeah, when we get on these sometimes it seems like you get on the same wavelength of I don't even know what, and things start lining up like that, and it's extremely weird. The the theory of egregores or, thought forms, tulpas, all of that stuff. I came across a point, this was many months ago, but it was one that stuck with me, and the I guess the point being that, there's a theory that something like, and I hate this theory, but Slender Man, exists now because of some creepy pasta that was made back when the internet was young. And obviously there's been violent fallout from people claiming that they were doing stuff for Slender Man or whatever. But so you have characters like Slender Man, but if there was something about a group energy manifesting something, then why aren't we seeing cryptids or entities or whatever of things that look like Freddy Krueger or Jason or, Michael Myers? Like, why aren't those more popular things that you see?
Right.
Because there's more, I would think, there's a larger audience watching those characters and having some sort of belief in them that maybe, like, why aren't they manifesting if that's how that works? But I'm probably also missing a vital piece to the puzzle of how it all works. There's clearly something different between a movie and then believing something that you see online.
Right. The whole Slender Man thing, and then people have been reporting seeing rakes. Again, that was also a creepypasta like Slender Man.
Mm-hmm.
But I've come to terms with maybe the rake is what people call pill crawlers.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what that is.
So
I believe that.
I can write that one off as maybe that, but the whole Slender Man thing, I don't really have an explanation for. But if there is such things as tulpas or egregores, wouldn't Santa Claus be one of the biggest ones too?
Right? Yeah, that's another one.
So
yeah.
That's where I kind of get hung up on when people say that we manifest these things. Is like, if that's the case, then we have a whole lot of beliefs of certain things, and I don't see that actually, like you said, with these characters from movies or anything. Like, I don't see Jason Voorhees or Freddy Krueger coming out, and if it did, I'd be afraid to go to sleep at that point.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that would be very scary. Yeah, I don't know. It's getting into the territory of tulpas and the energy that we could put out there to maybe create something. I feel like there's not that big of a jump between that thought process and then, putting out positive thought for someone, a group of people. You're in hard times or whatever, and they're like, I'm, sending you positive vibes. Like, if you've got enough people thinking positively for you, shouldn't that also help manifest things if thought can manifest stuff like that?
Right.
I don't know. I don't have any answers to any of this stuff, but I've definitely pondered that for sure.
That's kind of where I come back to when it comes to like cryptids, because people have said they've seen Bigfoot, okay? And people say they see Dogman. I can get behind a Bigfoot because obviously if it was a bipedal primate, well, if you look at us, we would be a bipedal primate if you believe in evolution. I can't come to terms with like something like a canine because there's no evolutionary line where a canine would walk upright. So that's where I get confused when it comes to stuff like that. But then if you start to look in some of these other cryptids too, some of them make no sense at all. So
exactly.
So like Mothman, how do you explain that? And then you hear people talk about flying humanoids. Well, are they winged humans or are they a Mothman thing?
Yeah.
So
that's where it's hard for me when it comes to cryptids to think that everything is purely flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
It just it can't be fully flesh and blood. Maybe it's something really weird that can turn into a solid creature and then just clearly disappear because these things don't stick around, or we'd have so many photos and videos.
I've often wondered if the shapes that they take, like say these creatures, you kind of mentioned a little bit about it earlier. I wonder if they take the shapes of things because they have to abide by our laws of physics. So they turn into something that has to look natural in our world, even though it doesn't look natural. It still has a 3D replicate, like a representation of
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. I like that thought process. Yeah, I got nothing on that, but that yeah.
Yeah, I think of a lot of stupid things sometimes, and my brain just never shuts off. So I'll be at work all day long thinking of how these things could possibly exist, because in my mind they don't exist. I've always been a skeptic. So, but like,
Right.
it's hard to not believe in stuff when you see things or when you look into things. But I'm like, you try and figure out how to write it off or explain it, and that's how my mind
Yeah.
works. And there's just no way of explaining these things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, there's there's a huge difference between like what you had an experience. So now you've seen something that now your brain has to wrap its mind around. Like you've got to try to figure out what was it, like process what happened. And that's a huge jump from even just believing that something exists, then to have it in front of you and confirming is a whole different mind shift, I think. Um, we've had activity here on the property, and I've I've not seen anything here, and I think I'm okay with that. I because I've heard things extremely close, and I believe that it's there. I hear it. I mean, at one point, like it's just they've been very close, whatever it is. But I don't know if I'm ready to see it and then have to be like, okay, for real. Now this line has officially been crossed. Everything is blurry, like this is not that I think things are black and white, but I think once you have a sighting like that, it definitely throws in gray everywhere, multiple shades of gray.
I think it makes people more, I can't think of the term, but like, I guess more open, more awake to the idea of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's why it's not I don't think it is a crazy thought that once you've had an incredible experience that you have others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is because, I mean, this is just my theory, that having an incredible experience does, like you said, open you up, and in ways that aren't visible. It makes you more maybe attuned to things, or you might notice things more. Of course, there's a way to go completely extreme where every little noise that you hear is something unexplainable. It's Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever. And that's hard to break out of, I guess, when you get into that cycle. But um I don't think it's weird to have people that have had multiple experiences, even across genres, so to speak. I mean, and they're not really genres, but we definitely have set up these communities that are pretty independent of one another, and I don't understand why. But the paranormal community, cryptid community, UFO community, a lot of times everybody's at odds. They don't even want to consider the other side for whatever reason. Um, but I think there is blending that happens, whether you want to admit it or not. But I don't know. You have these experiences, and there's been, we've talked to people that have seen Bigfoot, but they've also seen UFOs, and maybe there were some ghosts also thrown in the mix throughout their life. Not necessarily, they're not being bombarded every night by all three, but
Right.
it's something that across their lifetime they've experienced some of the weird, and I think that maybe it's because you become more sensitive to it after a while. I don't know.
I had a theory, which I used to think that when people said they had all these experiences, like there's no way someone could have all those experiences. But
Mhm.
since I've been doing the show, it's actually a lot more common than what I'd ever would
Yeah.
have thought. But
Mhm.
maybe it's not so much that we become open to it, but maybe because we've noticed something, now they're noticing us back because we actually were able to notice them.
You know, That reminds me of something that a woman, and I can't remember her name or what she did, but I remember that I met her in Moundsville at the penitentiary. This was many years ago. They had some sort of like paranormal festival or something at the prison. And I went there and I was speaking with a woman, and she was explaining to me her theory on things. And what she brought up was she was speaking about ghosts when she had this conversation. So she was saying once you become attuned, like when you're able to notice them, it's almost like you become a light bulb and they're the moths. Like they notice, just like you said, they notice, oh, hey, that person has the ability to notice me.
Mm-hmm.
They've done it before. Let's go to them to communicate or whatever. But she was like, once they're aware that you are aware of them, that invites more, whether you want to or not, whether that's what you're looking for or not. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I tend to kind of think that way just because it seems like the more I've been digging into, like with talking with other people and then just thinking about things that I've went through myself that I never chalked up to anything other than just weird occurrences or whatever. But now I go back and look at things, it's like, is it really just a random occurrence or was there something more to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there've definitely been moments where things seem to be more than happenstance. And if you take note of it, I think people would be surprised at how often things seem to go a more, I guess, magical seeming route, but it's not. I don't think it's magic. I think it's something that we just don't understand yet.
Some people, and I don't know how to word it properly, but they claim like when you mentioned magic for some reason, the light bulb went off in my head. But the magic of our world around us or whatever, it's the things that we're projecting into the world. We're bringing these energies back into our world from the way we we are manifesting our own energies out there. So it brings back things around us. So someone says if you're a negative type of a person, you're going to draw in more negative energy around you. And some people claim if you're a good person or whatever, you're going to bring more of the light energy. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is like if there's good energy and there's bad energy, if you look at it just from a religious aspect, which I'm not really a religious person, but if you look at it that way, like if you do good your whole life, you shouldn't be surrounded by good energies if you believe in any of that stuff, because all the good should have already moved on. So,
Right.
So what are these other good energies if they're not human spirits? What else is out there? And then that's when the things start to come to turn. You have to come to terms with the fact that, like, okay, so it's just not black and white, like you're saying, or like there's a lot of different elements out here that we don't understand yet. And then it gets into that gray matter of trying to determine what these things actually are.
Yeah. Yeah. And going out there with intent. It's the same. I mean, it's the same idea of having certain types of energy, good energy, and you're going to attract good things, bad energy. And we see that, like even taking cryptids out of the equation altogether, you can see that if you wake up in the morning and you're in a really horrible mood, and you're just emanating this negative energy. You're probably, before you even get out of the house, you're probably going to stub your toe. You're going to drop things. You're not going to be able to find your keys. You're going to get stuck in traffic on your way to work. Like all of these things just compound. And to you, it's like, I mean, on the surface, it's like, oh, what a crappy day. Everything is just piling up on me. But, and I'm not saying that this is like a foolproof thing, but if you wake up and you start to notice that you're feeling that way, if you are able to pull yourself out of it, I feel like by doing that, you save yourself a lot of heartache, because it seems like when you're in a bad mood, it's like when it rains, it pours. It just cascades from there. But if you can pull yourself out of it, it's not. And then maybe you just get in a better mindset. So if things go wrong, it doesn't like ruin your day and you're just better prepared to handle it. But I don't know. In my experience, if it's something like that, or if I'm really angry about something and I let that fester too long throughout the day, then inevitably something else is going to happen as the day goes on that just compounds it. And I didn't used to put the two and two together, but in the last few years since getting more involved in this field, it's made me wonder if that's not something that in a way you end up making much worse just based off of the energy that you're putting out there.
I know just from personal experience, when you're surrounded by negative people all the time, it does damper your mood. And
Yeah.
I think that energy from you just pick up from other people, like you can feel it too. Like
Yeah.
if you walk into a
Absolutely.
room and someone's in a bad mood, you kind of already know someone's in a bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you can pick up that energy from just someone else, if there is other things out there, I'm sure they pick up on that energy too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see it with pets even. Like
Mm-hmm.
if your pet is aware that you're not feeling well or what, like they seem to know. Or if you're angry or whatever, they're not going to come around. If you're in a good mood or you're sad, then they show up. Because they can sense that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even if you bring it back around to like active investigation into, for example, the paranormal, I've not been on like countless paranormal investigations, but I've been on a few, and I've been with different groups. And depending on the group that you're with and their approach to things, it absolutely affects the results that you get. So, for example, when you go in with people who are more aggressive in their mood, um, you'll get responses, like you'll get activity, but it's going to be more aggressive in nature. If you go into an investigation and you're just being laid back or whatever, it's not going to be as you're kind of getting that energy back from whatever may be in the area that you're investigating. If you go in aggressive, you're going to, at least in my experience, you're going to get activity and it'll be exciting, but it's not going to be necessarily fun or welcoming.
I haven't had anything actually happen paranormal wise that I'm aware of when I've been out involved with some of these groups. Years ago, I went out on a couple different ghost hunts and people were saying everything was paranormal. Their meters were jumping and this is a ghost. And I'm like, I don't really know if that's really a ghost. Like, this is an old building. I'm sure the wiring's not up to code. I always try and write everything off in like some sort of a logical sense before I'm going to say something's paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I think that's safe.
But going out and doing like my own stuff here recently, and I don't know, like I do notice that my little meter flashes. Is that saying there's something around, or is it just saying that there, you know what I mean? How do you determine if there's actually something there? That's where I get hung up on it at. Yeah.
I have been on investigations where people use all of this equipment and, you know, that they can tell you various things. I am not super versed in every piece of equipment out there to tell you everything inside and out, but, you know, they can detect field things or voices or, you know, whatever. But then I've also been on investigations where you go in with nothing and you just hang out. You talk or you don't. You sit quietly and then you just listen and kind of integrate yourself into the building or the woods or, you know, wherever you are. And between those two, I feel like there's more of a complete feeling to not have all of that equipment. Because unless your goal with the equipment, I guess, is to, if it's your goal is to record things, so you're taking data points or whatever, then that makes sense. But if you're going out and just wanting to experience things, if you're busy looking at a meter that's flashing lights or having the spirit box on or whatever that's making a lot of noise, then you're not fully absorbing everything around you. I think that there's more to our abilities to like sense things that it's dampened because of all of the electronics around us on a daily basis. We don't have to live outside anymore, so we don't have to be as attuned to things,
Right.
and we're not. But if you put yourself in that position, I think people would be surprised at what they notice.
I got a spirit box last year, and
Mhm.
my wife is very, I won't say superstitious, but she doesn't want to mess with any sort of stuff like this at all.
Mhm. Mhm.
We have to sleep with like a nightlight on sometimes. But so she said not to turn any of this stuff on in the house because we've had, I think there's been something weird with my house here since we've lived here, but everything's been calm here lately. And last year when I got this spirit box, my son asked me what it is. And I told him, so I turned it on, which I wasn't supposed to do that. And I said, "Is anyone out there?" And it goes, and we hear hello. And I instantly just turned it off. It was,
You're like, all right, good. Thanks. Thank you.
It was plain as day. Hello. He looked at me, his eyes got all excited, and I was like, "We're done." And then everyone that I talked to says, "You don't ever do that in your house." I was like, "Well, I know." I was like,
yeah.
So
yeah, I've done that in my house because the stuff that's going on here. I just don't. I prefer with the spirit box to have the headphones on to listen because I can focus better. If I have it just on well, first of all, the spirit box I have, the speaker is crap anyway that's attached to it. But once you turn it on, it's so loud and it's so hard to. Everybody hears different things. Like, I love if something comes through super clear, like what you're talking about, where there's no question. Yes, that was hello. But it sucks whenever there's like 5 people sitting around a spirit box, the speaker's on, and something is said, and everybody says a different word. Like, okay, well, I don't know what it meant or what that meant. We all heard different things.
Half the time it sounds like it's saying something, but I can't understand what it says out there. Like, it's zooming through signals, so half the time I'm just like, it's probably just picking up the radio, a piece of a word, and then your mind automatically tries to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. That's why I like if we do the headphones, and I guess you don't have to have a blindfold on or whatever if it's a dark room, but I like the whole Estes method scenario where people have noise canceling headphones on and they've got the spirit box playing, and then other people in the room or in the hallway or whatever, not directly next to you, start asking questions, and then you just say whatever you hear out loud and you have no idea what they're asking. But when it's really cool when what you're saying ends up corresponding to whatever they're asking.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know, because I'm not into pooling data points for that kind of thing, but it is interesting when that lines up. And I don't know, we had one investigation where there were 2 of us with the headphones on. We were in separate areas of the basement, like the lower floor, and the rest of the group was in the center of the basement, so they could hear both of us. And then they were just talking. And what ended up happening was we ended up somehow, the responses that were coming, we were like talking to each other, but we were in different rooms on the opposite end of the basement. So like the main group could hear that we were talking, like answering one another. They didn't even have to say a word. And that was really weird. I don't know. Don't know what to make of it.
I talked to someone before, and I've heard this from somebody else too. They mentioned coins. Have you ever heard anything about like finding random coins?
I have not.
So
no.
Someone had said that they were doing an investigation, and like these coins had came like out of nowhere. Someone had messaged me a while back about having these coins manifest, and they weren't even from this country. They were like foreign currency. And then someone else had mentioned before about having found random coins. And years before I ever started doing anything, one of the first weird things that ever happened to me involved a coin, because my friend had found one on a headstone and he tried to take it, and me being superstitious was like, nope, don't take that coin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I didn't know if you've heard anything about like coins having any sort of significance with weird activity.
I have not. The only thing, when I think of coins, two things come to mind. One is various places I've been, there'll inevitably be some place where people leave coins or whatever they think is in the room. I guess is sort of an offering kind of situation, or just for respect. Of course, you got the coins on the headstones. I would be with you on that. Do not take it. That was left for that person that is buried there, not for somebody to come take. But the only other thing coin wise that I can think of are some of these places that are supposedly cursed in a way, where if people have found a coin and they've taken it, then they end up mailing it back. Because weird stuff, like they just, everybody sees a penny as they're walking, and you may or may not pick it up and put it in your pocket. And that's happened at places that have a reputation for being haunted. People take them, and then stuff happens that's really bad, and they're like, oh man, what's the excuse for this? And they're like, oh wait, I took that coin. And then they send the coin back.
Since we've been talking here in the last few minutes, I keep hearing a noise outside that sounds like either a dirt bike revving up or a chainsaw. Then I got thinking about how we were just talking about Freddy Krueger, Jason, and I'm like, hopefully Leatherface isn't outside my house.
Leatherface is out there. Yep. It's just to prove us wrong is what that is.
Yeah. Like I keep hearing it. I keep looking out my door. I'm like, I don't see anybody out there, but I can definitely hear it. I didn't know if you could actually hear it through the mic, because it sounds pretty loud. I was like, who's out here with a chainsaw? But
That's really weird.
Thinking my neighbor might be like revving up a dirt bike or something, but it's pouring down rain, so I don't understand what they'd be doing.
Yeah, it's also late to be going out.
Yeah.
And making a bunch of noise for your neighbors.
Yeah, I live out in the country too, so it's like our neighbor's not that close.
Yeah, so then any noise like that is suspicious. We live out in the country too, and I'm not a big fan of hearing things like that shouldn't be there, because I'm like, the nearest neighbor is not close, so who is around here messing around?
Yeah, I said I got one across the street, but they're not like directly across the street, but yeah, the sound sounds like it's coming from the west side, which is not where my closest neighbor would even be. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to go investigate, I guess.
That's right. I want follow-up notes.
Yeah,
see what you find.
Someone had told me about doing the stuff that, like, looking for things, and like you guys do documentaries and stuff too. Someone had said that's a very you're the type of people that are going to die first in a movie. You hear a strange noise, so you go and investigate. I was like, that's my first instinct, though. Like, I hear something weird, so I'm going to go see what it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's what kicked off all of the potential for the Bigfoot project here at the farm, was that I had a friend had come in from, she was living in Oregon at the time. She'd come in from Oregon to stay for a while, and she wanted to do like a ghost investigation. So we went to the woods, because I was like, well, you know what? One thing I haven't done is an investigation in the woods. Let's do that. So we went to the woods, and weird stuff happened that was not ghost-like. And ultimately, I had to bring her back to the house and then get my husband to go back out with me. But we heard, we heard we played the Ohio Howl on my, just my phone. I didn't have a Bluetooth speaker with me at the time initially, but we had started ghost investigating in the woods. She got uncomfortable, so she's like, can we do this in the field? So we go out in the field, and I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't really feel spooky in the middle of an open field. So I was like, why don't we let's do a Bigfoot call? And I played the Ohio Howl, but what I wasn't expecting was to hear it back. And I just started giggling when I heard it back, I was giddy. She was terrified. And she's like, "Okay, I need to go back to the house right now." And I'm like, "I need to go back and get, well, one, get Corey, but two, I need to get the speaker so I can amplify these sounds and see what else we can get back." But I was excited because I'm like, wait, this is uh, something, it's not tangible, but I mean, it's one extra point of something being there that shouldn't be, that I can't explain. And so we went back out, and the patch of woods that we had been in that she had felt uncomfortable in, that's where the noises were coming from. So we started to take uh, the vehicle that we were in. It was like it's a gator, so like a side by side. We started to go toward the woods. And when we got to the opening that goes back into those woods, there was like a massive crash, like a big, I mean, it sounded like a big tree breaking in half. And I was like, okay, now we go. That was good enough for me. Like that, I don't know. That was where I felt at that point. I was all excited, and then that happened. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that as back off. So I don't know. I'm up for investigating to a point until you get that gut feeling, I guess. I can't push through that gut feeling.
Right. So the only thing that I don't like being out alone. Just because
no.
like at night, I've went out and done some stuff by myself at night because I couldn't get anyone to go with me. And I'm out there and like, it's just more creepier because even though you're by yourself and I'm like, yeah, there's nothing, we're probably out here. Then as soon as you hear something strange, you're like, okay. Then the paranoia sets in of like, what if there is something out here?
Right. Yeah. And then you're alone. And how terrifying is that?
Right.
And the other part that I don't like about going out alone is, what if there's another person out here? That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to run into a cryptid really either by myself, but people scare me a lot. And if I'm out in the woods in the middle of the night and so is someone else, what are they doing? What there's certainly a serial killer or something. That's immediately where my brain would go. This is someone who's going to murder me right now.
Yeah. My friend that's been helping me, he is not so much a believer in this type of stuff anyways, but he had the question of what happens if we actually do find something. I was like, well, I guess we'll worry about that if it ever happens.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah, who knows what you would do? I don't. You may just freeze if something like that were to happen, but then your friend would, it would be interesting to see how your friend would handle that, because I've known people who are very much against like non-believers in any of this stuff. They have weird things happen, and it's almost entertaining at times to see the gymnastics they pull in their thoughts to talk themselves out of what they just experienced, because they don't want it to be real is ultimately what it comes down to for some people. So they could see it right in front of them, and they'll talk themselves right on out of it.
That is how my wife is. She will not accept anything, because then if she has to admit that it's real, and then it becomes real. So everything to her, she doesn't believe it. Doesn't believe it because she doesn't want to believe. She said, because once she starts believing, then it's real.
Right. And then that's a whole paradigm shift.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what when we had that experience here initially at the farm, where my friend was like, we've got to go back to the house. I'm done. When I brought her back to the house and dropped her off, what she said to me was, that was all the confirmation I needed, because I know that wasn't a normal animal that made that noise. And that's good enough for me to know that there is something else out there beyond what I thought could exist. And I'm satisfied with that. I'm good. I don't need to go dig any deeper. I'm good.
So when it comes to noises and everything, I have been known to go further into looking for what made the noise. Now, my biggest concern is, again, like you mentioned, I'm not worried about running into a cryptid. I'm more or less worried about running into a known animal.
Oh, yeah.
We have,
That's true.
they're not as plentiful, but we do have some random bobcats. We do have coyotes, and apparently we do have black wolf-looking canines running around here, because I just saw one yesterday. But
right.
So I'm just concerned, like when you hear a noise, like you go in there, and then this past fall, it was right around when hunting season started. I'm concerned that we're out in the woods, is like we might get shot because they think we're a deer. Like, even though I'm wearing orange doesn't mean anything, because I'm in an area where it's not even supposed to be hunting, but clearly there's deer stands in areas that say no hunting. So I don't think everyone abides by whatever the sign says.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to, like, where I am, there aren't really any big predators to worry about. I mean, we've got coyotes though, and there's a lot of them. And when they get kicked up and start going into their frenzy, and you're outside and not far, it sounds terrifying.
Yep.
And I wouldn't want to square up with a pack of them. I wouldn't want to square up with one of them, but certainly not a pack. I don't know. I hear that the coyotes are pretty skittish. I don't know. I don't know if they would be in a pack, though.
I have audio from about 3 weeks ago. I came out here to record, and they were right across the road, a whole pack of coyotes that you can hear them. They're all high-pitched, doing their whining, whatever they do. But then there's a very low howl at the end. And it's not a coyote howl. It definitely sounds like a dog. It doesn't sound like a wolf, but it sounds more like a dog, but it was with the pack of coyotes. So I'm thinking maybe that's what this thing that we saw yesterday actually is. Like maybe it's a hybrid, like a dog coyote mix.
Yeah, maybe. That's still so wild that happened.
Yeah. That is I can't explain that one. Like my friend, he said he should have told me to put a big bag of money back there in the generate a bag of money out in the fog. Okay. And then
next time.
Yeah.
Now you know what to do next time.
Yep. Well, we've been going on for almost an hour and a half, so we can probably wrap this one up. But before we do, again, I'd like for you to let everyone know about the Kickstarter and your upcoming projects with Small Town Monsters.
Yeah, so if you go to Kickstarter.com, type in Small Town Monsters, you'll see our 2026 Kickstarter, where you can back on a variety of levels, make your choice, and then you can customize it with add-ons, and you'll get all kinds of rewards, but certainly we'll be getting early access to, like, immediate early access to Journey to Ape Island, Sasquatch Factor, On the Trail of UFOs Season 2, and Dogman Legacy are 4 big ones. And the Kickstarter ends March 5th. So
awesome. Well, Heather, it's been a pleasure talking with you tonight.
Oh, it's been awesome to be here. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too. You have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye. If you would like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com, or you can also go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Just make sure to reach out and get a hold of me, and we will get something scheduled for a future episode. You can also find Tinfoil Tales on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for Tinfoil Tales Podcast. You can reach out to me that way too. Remember to share the show around. Word of mouth is the best way to help the show grow. And just remember, truth comes at cost. Are you willing to pay the price?